me again, Brad with MacGyver's Woodshop and Adventures. Today, part 2 of the table saw gripper. We're going to make the adjustable height leg and the horizontal leg that holds narrow pieces up against the edge of the fence. So, come on along and let's build the rest of the gripper. So for the horizontal piece, I'm going to use a piece of 3/8 inch thick cutting board that's made out of PTFE. I've got an 1/8 inch thick piece of plexiglass for the vertical that we'll have to bend later. So I'm going to cut those two pieces to the same length as the gripper. I've got my stop block set up. Just square up one end of the material, move it over to the stop block and cut it to length. Same way for the plexiglass. Here's a trick I learned on plexiglass. You can use your metal ruler or your metal scale and use it kind of like a scraper, and you can scrape the saw marks off the edge of the plexiglass and it'll leave a semi-polished edge. You can turn it on a 45 and deburr the edge and make it nice and smooth. You can see those saw curves are coming right out. Okay, so now we get to bend plexiglass. I've never done this before, so let's hope for the best. I've got it clamped up in my bench for a 2-inch leg. I'm going to start heating the plexiglass with a heat gun, apply a little pressure, and hopefully it'll bend, not break. Let's see what happens. So, with the magic of editing, a lot of time has passed. It's heating, it's starting to bend, looking really good. Just light pressure, keep heating, and I think we're doing pretty good. So I've got it bent 90 degrees. I've got a board on it to clamp with pressure, and right here's where I make a big mistake. You can see I let the heat gun stay in one spot while I was clamping, and yeah, you can see the bubbles coming up. Not doing so well. And you can see where I got it too hot. You can see where it's over 90 degrees, so it's time for take 2. I'll spare you the agony, but we heated it up a lot slower, moved the heat gun a lot faster, bent it 90 degrees and didn't use the wood clamp, just bent it and checked it by eye for 90 degrees. So here I've got it bent. I'm using the board because it's really hot to touch, just to try to get the bend even and the vertical face flat. So I've got it bent, I've let it cool. It's time to take it out of the clamps and see what happened. Getting it out there, checking it for square, and it turned out pretty good. I'm kind of proud of it actually, for not ever bending plastic before. Now it's time to cut the slots for the up and down adjustment on this vertical piece. Set the router up here. All I had was a straight flute 1/4 inch bit. Not the best bit for this. I think a spiral upcut bit would be best. It's pretty rough and chatters pretty bad. It did get the job done, and we made it happen, but it was a little sketchy. So here it is, the vertical leg. It moves up and down real smooth, locks in place. Overall, it's working pretty well. So now it's time to get ready to put the horizontal piece in. It's got to be able to adjust laterally. So we just get it set up here and mark it up, and we'll go over to the router table once again and cut slots for it. So the slots for the horizontal piece are a little bit different. You have to cut the slot, the small diameter first, and then leave your stop blocks in place, because we're going to change out the bit to a larger bit and make a rabbet on the underside to take the heads of either the carriage bolts or T-bolts or whatever you're going to use to slide. You've got to make a rabbet there so those will fit. So you leave your stop blocks alone, change your bit out to the size that you need, and route the bigger slot on the underside. So once I get the bit changed out, I set the height to the appropriate height or thickness of the head of the bolt. Get ready, and we'll route the groove for the T-bolt that I'm using. The PTFE really works easy with the router bits, and there you go, a slot for the head of the bolt to slide in, nice and easy. And here's all our finished pieces. All we have left to do is assemble it. I'll put the vertical piece in place with some star knobs. Okay, for the horizontal piece, I use my T-bolts. What I use for T-bolts are toilet bowl flange bolts. Put them in place with some washers and wing nuts, and we're starting to look like a table saw gripper. So I didn't like the looks of the vertical piece being that big solid plate up on the side, so I'm just going to kind of mark it up and cut some of the excess away. I'll have 2 vertical pieces around these slots, and then I'll cut most of the excess away on the router table. I will tell you right now, I don't know if I have footage of it, but the spiral upcut bit is a must for working with this plexiglass. So this plexiglass is new to me, so to make the relief or the radiuses for all the cutouts, I used a Forstner bit. That worked really well. So I do have footage of trying to cut the plexiglass on the router table, so I'll just let you watch and see how rough it got. Right about here is where things went really south. So to make the gripper a lot more grippier, I had some non-skid stairwell tread safety tape that I put on the bottom of all 3 legs. I also put it on the bottom of the 1/2-inch plywood leg that I interchanged with the thin strip leg. So I guess after you make one of these homemade gripper table saw push blocks, the only thing left to do is to see if it'll actually work. So here we're going to try to cut a thin strip. The gripper actually managed the piece of wood underneath very well, didn't slip, and you can see pulled it right away from the blade without even touching it. So now we're going to try to rip a longer piece that's a little wider, so we can take the vertical leg off and the horizontal leg off and just use the gripper in its bare form. You set it up, you can use the adjustable center leg so the blade goes between the legs, and yeah, it works great. I had to stop here because my tripod, I was fixing to hit the tripod again. Camera's not going to take much more of that, so there you have it, folks, a table saw gripper.